Good morning. Our next guest has been in the senior housing industry for over 18 years, and she is a certified aging service professional. She, like many of us, has had her own personal journey with her family members, and from that has become an author of 2 books, her latest book being Your Senior Housing Options. And with that, I'd like to introduce Diane Masson. Welcome, Diane.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Diane, thank you for coming to San Diego today. Tell us why you decided, or give us the details of why you decided to write these books.
I'd be happy to. When my mother and I went out 20 years ago looking at retirement communities, we didn't know how to find a great one versus a mediocre one. So we literally had to educate ourselves. And we went to 20 different places over a 2-year period of time till my mom found the perfect place for her. And it was a continuing care retirement community up in Seattle, Washington. 6 months later, I was working where my mother lived. And after all these years in educating seniors and helping them, I've actually seen seniors be smart and plan ahead like my mother did at 75 years old. And then I've also seen them wait till a crisis like my in-laws did, where they were both in a hospital. The doctor had to say to both of them, "I'm sorry, you need 24/7 care." And one of them needed to move into skilled nursing and the other one needed to move to assisted living in a crisis. So I've seen it both, and so that's why I wrote this book as a resource so that people know the right questions to ask and what the options are and how much they cost.
It is a great resource, and I know, Patty, you had a question about that.
So when is the right time to move? Because I've lived this journey just like you did. I wasn't smart enough to write a book, but I have lived this journey.
Well, if they have a history of having some falls, if they've gotten into some fender benders, if they've just been diagnosed with some kind of progressive disease like Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, MS, arthritis, diabetes, or maybe the day-to-day basics have just become too difficult for them, where just to go to the grocery store, get some groceries, bring them home, make a nutritional meal, and then do the dishes has just become too much.
And we find socialization, I think, is one that you will find is really one of the main reasons to go. Would that be true?
Absolutely.
So you have 5 tips that we want to share with the viewers, and the 5 main tips on exploring senior housing options. And the first tip is find out how much debt is on the retirement community. Explain what that means.
Well, when you're out looking at a retirement community, you have a right to find out, do they have a mortgage? So ask them, do you have a mortgage and how much is on it? Because what a lot of people don't know is when you're on a fixed income as a senior, and none of the seniors got raises with Social Security this year, and so what is the year-over-year monthly increase going to be at that retirement community? And if it's over 5-6%, typically they have some kind of a mortgage.
When someone is trying to find the community that best meets their needs, one of the questions, one of your tips is to make sure there's vibrant people that live there. You could probably tell maybe more visually than actually even asking the question, but what do you tell people to look and listen for?
I actually tell them to go to some of the activities that they're offering there. Ask for an activity calendar. Maybe go on an outing, a trip with the other residents, and see for yourself what's happening. See what kind of instructors they have and if you like them for the exercise classes and things like that.
One of the things that Patty and I always tell people is a lot of these fabulous communities are bringing in 4-star, 5-star chefs from the hotels. So talk a little bit about that as a tip.
Well, and you want to see if they have multiple dining venues as well. So I say try the food multiple times, try them in all the different restaurants they offer, because right now a senior might be able to drive and get some of their own groceries and make their own food. But when you get to the point where you're 100% dependent upon the food at the community, you want it to be great and you want to have multiple dining venues.
That's a great point. And
You don't want the hockey puck hamburgers that my dad used to complain about.
That's right.
Well, I always say, because obviously the communities want, that's the way they market in terms of they want you to come and try them out. And that food is still, food is still one of the top ways to know if this place is the right place for you. Patty?
So one of the other tips is to understand the longevity of the staff, because a lot of communities, staff comes and goes, and that is not only difficult on the community to manage, but it's also difficult for the residents because they do get attached to the staff. what is one of your advice when you're talking about asking that type of question?
Well, probably the easiest way is if you're going to 4 retirement communities, ask at every single one, how long has the administrator worked here? And typically 3 out of 4, the answer will be less than a year.
Wow.
And in skilled nursing in particular, there's a lot of turnover. So it's an important question to ask, and you want to have management staff that is experienced so that they can train the frontline staff really how to take care of the residents.
And you've brought up a term, continuing care retirement community, and one of the tips is to ask the question, do they offer guaranteed care? Explain CCR, the term CCRC, and then guaranteed care.
Well, when my mother moved into a continuing care retirement community, she lived in independent living for 8 years, assisted living for 7, and skilled nursing for 2. So it had all 3 levels of care. That's continuing care. And what I didn't know and what my mother didn't know when I started this journey was that she was going to run out of resources because she ended up being in a higher level of care for a really long period of time. And so 9 years between assisted living and skilled nursing. And the statistics is that 20% of us are going to need to do that for over 5 years. So you want to find out, because when my mom ran out of her resources and she was on a Good Samaritan Fund there that they offered, I said, okay, so she's going on the Good Samaritan Fund. And they said, well, there's 10 people on it, it's full. So unfortunately for a resident, fortunately for my mother, one of those people passed away and my mother became number 10. So you want to dig down to a lower level where you really find out what happens if you outlive your resources. And there's some places out there that offer a guarantee of care for life if you outlive your resources in independent living, assisted living, or skilled nursing.
So all of these questions and answers are right here in the book that you've published, your Senior Housing Options, available on Amazon. And Diane, it's really, we have read it a couple times because, again, most of our clients are facing this decision. And it's just a great read. It's so much information, and really for not so much maybe the parents, but as for the children who really need to take this and sit around the table and all read it together and really understand your options so they do the right thing. So now we thank you so much for being here today. Hopefully you will continue to publish articles, you'll continue to write books, and it's really an honor to have you down here today. So stick around for more Senior Stay or Go TV.